The 3-watch collection, very popular for some reason. Lots of people talk about 3-watch collections. Today I have a 3-watch collection for you. It's under $3,000, so 3 watches, all 3 adding up to under $3,000. However, a little bit of a twist. I'm going to give you some watches that aren't the usual suspects. I'm going to give you some watches that aren't the usual watches that make it into lists like this. These are uncommon watches, and I think they're pretty cool. But let's get into it. Let's take a look at the watches and flip over the camera. So the 3-watch collection is sort of a sweet spot, I would say. 3 watches get you 3 different styles of watch. You have 3 different styles of watch in your collection. Really ready for anything. When you go on vacation, you have 3 watches that you could choose from. Bring all 3 or just take one. It does work. It's actually a really good way of having a very small, effective collection. Today I have 3 sort of oddball choices for a 3-watch collection. Starting with a GMT that's going to double as your dress watch. That's the MontBlanc right here. Then we have a Zelos. Zelos, very popular on my channel. One of my favorite micro brands that are doing some pretty incredible things, really trying to make incredible watches, and they are. And then, of course, we have a Luminox. Now, this is sort of a workhorse, the workhorse out of the group here. So you have the diver. This is actually a refined diver. They've really done a good job refining this watch. You have your dress GMT travel watch. This is sort of your, let's call it G-Shock. It's a little bit of an elevated G-Shock. That's what I've called it in the past. This is a titanium version. You can get these for around $300. This is the INOX by Luminox. Really great watch. Pretty decent lume. And all around a very good everyday watch if you're looking for one that can take a beating. And they put these through a lot of tests. So it's actually what inspired my videos where I tested my SKX. They did a bunch of tests and put this watch through a bunch of trials, and it passed all of them with flying colors. So this is a really pretty rugged watch, actually. So very quickly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each one of the watches very quickly. I'll give you specs on each one of the watches. I'll throw them on my wrist. And then we're going to do a lume shot because all 3 of the watches have lume. Some spectacular lume on the Zelos. Decent lume on here on the Victorinox. And then the MontBlanc, not bad considering it's a dress GMT. So very quickly, let's start with the MontBlanc. This watch right now, if you wanted to buy one, you can get one on analog shift. They actually have this exact watch on analog shift, not this exact one, but exactly the same watch with the salmon dial, and they are selling it for around $1,800, which is an excellent price. This is discontinued. They sold out of them. So technically not discontinued. They made a run of them and sold out. This is from their Heritage Collection. You get a beautiful salmon dial on this. I'll put a link that I did for this watch up above. You could check it out. I did plenty of up-close video and photos of this dial. It impresses to no end. It is really very, very nice. Lots of finishes, lots of colors. Everything is beautiful on here. You do have lume. You have applied indices. It's sort of a step dial. There's 2 different finishes on it. There's a pebbled finish. That's that hour track. Then there's a sunburst finish. That's in the center. Then you have a minute track with some blue in it. Really beautiful. All polished case. You have a polished case back with the Minerva factory. So this is the Minerva factory. These are inspired by Minerva, their heritage brand. They're taking their heritage from Minerva, which is not a bad heritage. Minerva made some pretty incredible chronographs. They made pretty incredible watches. This is inspired by those watches. Not a bad inspiration at all. So this is a 40 millimeter watch. It's just over 40 millimeters. It has a domed sapphire crystal. Inside you get a Sellita SW330. So this is 11.9 millimeters thick. Really not that bad considering that you're including the sapphire crystal here. That SW330 is basically a office GMT, not a traveler's GMT. So keep that in mind. That means that the GMT hand is what jumps when you are changing the GMT. And there you go, 47.8. You get a nice crown on here as well. 6.4 millimeters. Really just a beautiful watch. Comes on this crocodile strap. The one that they have on the, I think it's the Analog Shift website that I mentioned, not a bad price, and I think you're getting box and papers with that. An excellent watch for that price. This originally retailed for over $3,000, around $3,100. Really just a beautiful watch, very well executed. Beautiful fume strap on here that is crocodile. Really nice buckle. Just all in all, a really beautiful watch. The next watch on this list is Zelos. Now, this is, and I'm going to wind it really quickly because it is not wound, but the Zelos is a micro brand. So they've been around for a little while now. They've been around for a few years. They've been making some pretty incredible watches. And what they've done is they've constantly improved over the years. And this is probably one of the best, if not the best, dive watch that they have come out with yet. It's a 200-meter dive watch. You get the ceramic bezel. That's great. That's typical for Zelos. You get a fully lume dial. They even put lume in the hands and the indices, even though you really don't need it because it is a fully lume dial. So tons of lume there. Lume in the bezel as well. So that's an added bonus. 200-meter dive watch. You have the date right there. This gets a Le Jeu Perret movement in it. So we're talking about high-end movement from a brand that is actually a micro brand. And this is a gunmetal finish on the movement. It looks absolutely gorgeous. It's based on a Miyota movement. So what basically is done here, Le Jeu Perret, Swiss manufacturer, part of the Miyota group. Miyota gave them the plans to their 9000 series, I guess, Miyota movements. And essentially what they've done is recreated it in a Swiss-made form. They gave it bidirectional winding, which improves the overall sound of the rotor that this movement would generally have, a 9000 series. They've done a little bit more also. Obviously, you can see there's a lot of differences just from looking at the movement. But again, if you want more close-ups of this, I'll throw a card to the link, or a link above, excuse me, for the video on this watch. Just a really beautiful watch. Really great dive watch. Very good for every day. You have quick release, flat link bracelet, micro adjust that's on the fly. I mean, you really cannot go wrong. Screwed links, very solid, well-made bracelet, screw down crown, tons of lume, great movement that you can see from the back. Excellent watch. Just really an excellent watch. One of the best watches that Zelos have ever made, and they have made some really incredible watches recently. So 39.7, 39.6. They have a pretty good relationship with Le Jeu Perret, and obviously they're one of the first manufacturers to actually use this movement, which is pretty cool. Thickness 12.2 millimeters, really not that bad considering that this is a 200-meter dive watch. Female end links on here, which is excellent. So you get a very true lug-to-lug, 47.1. The effective lug-to-lug is a little bit smaller because it's actually shorter than the lug, so that those female end links work really well. Just all in all, a great watch. Let's do the crown measurement very quickly. 6.3 millimeters. So excellent. Really, just an excellent watch. I love it. It's just a good looking watch. You get that 12-hour bezel on there as well. Now, talking about rugged watches, this watch was put through its paces by Victorinox. They actually put this through a ton of different tests that they listed on their website a long time ago, and they sort of moved away from that marketing for some reason. I don't know why, but I think it was very effective. This is a quartz version, and they would drop it from a 10-story building. They had it run over by a few ton, it was many tons, fire truck, and they just had it sitting on there. There were a whole bunch of things that they did with it. They froze it, they boiled it, they did a bunch of different tests, or it gave you an idea that this was a very rugged watch. That marketing campaign gave you the idea that this was a very rugged watch. And I actually bought this instead of buying a G-Shock. I actually went out to buy a G-Shock, and then I decided to buy this instead. The reasons behind that is titanium case. You have a rubber strap on here. It's a blue rubber strap, which actually goes very well with this darkened sort of titanium matte finish case. You have a gray dial. I really like the gray dial on here. You have lume. Yes, it's not a digital watch, So it's not as easy to tell time on, and it doesn't have as many functions. You don't have alarm functions and things like that, but it supports movement. You have a blue second hand there ticking along right there. There is loom, as I mentioned. You have it on the indices and hands. It's pretty decent. It's a rugged watch that has 200 meters of water resistance. You can really do anything, go anywhere with this watch, and you're not going to have to worry about your watch. You have a sapphire crystal on here. It's really good looking. I personally think this is as good looking or maybe better looking than a G-Shock in a lot of cases. I think a G-Shock works for a lot of different cases, but let's say you're doing work in the yard and you have to run out and you want to go someplace where maybe you don't want to be wearing a crazy giant 53 millimeter or 50 millimeter G-Shock. You want to wear something that's a little bit more elegant. This is it. This is a little bit more elegant than a G-Shock, and it's just as rugged. That's why I like it. Anyway, I'm going to throw all these watches onto my wrist. I'm going to start with this watch. First, let me show you what I have on my wrist. This is the D-Cave collaboration with Bulova. This is a Bulova Contratron, and review for this should be coming out tomorrow, but I'm not entirely sure. Very, very cool watch. Really interesting collaborations in NFT, which makes it a little difficult for people like myself to buy because I'm not even sure how to buy an NFT. I'm a little bit behind the times, but that is just me, I guess. There are a lot of people out there a little bit more savvy, but this is a really cool watch with some really interesting details on it. Very out of ordinary. Speaking about out of the ordinary, that is a very out of the ordinary watch. Just the Computron in general, just a very interesting, different watch. So here is the Victorinox on my wrist. I actually did not do measurements for this. I think it's around 43 millimeters. I'll let you know in just a second, but there it is. I have a 7.5 inch wrist. It looks really good on my wrist. It's a very comfortable watch. It's actually pretty light, but it's not the lightest watch you've ever owned that is titanium, but it is pretty light. It's actually a big case, so that's the reason why it's a little bit heavy. You get a titanium buckle on here. It's a pretty generic buckle with the logo on there, but it's not bad. Strap is really nice. It's very, very thick, very well made. Beautiful watch. I really do love it. Anyway, very quickly, let me do the measurements on here, and then we're going to look at the next watch on my wrist. 43, like I said, 43.7, so it's almost 44 millimeters. Just about. It's not a big watch. It doesn't wear huge. 13.4 millimeters. Again, you're getting 200 meters of water resistance. It's not a thin watch either. And the lug-to-lug is a 53 or 50, yeah, 53 basically lug-to-lug. So big lug span, but it is a 44 millimeter or 43 millimeter just in between watch. So definitely makes sense. You get a screwed-in crown, really well-guarded screwed-in crown. Again, adding to that ruggedness, considering all the tests that they went through. It makes sense. Then we have the Zelos. This is a 40 millimeter watch on that flat link bracelet. I absolutely love it. And you have this micro adjust. It's on the fly in the buckle here. Very similar to what you get from Christopher Ward. This, I believe, costs around $600 and change on their website, around $700. This watch costs around $300. You can get these brand new on the gray market for around $300, $350. So just about, you know, $1,000 for these two watches, and then $1,800 for the MontBlanc. Let's do bezel action really quickly. It's a little bit quieter than you would be normally get from Zelos, but it's really nice action. Everything lines up, and of course it is loomed. So, and it's bi-directional, which is great because you have a 12-hour bezel on here. So excellent, very, very cool watch. I really love this watch. It's just, it is literally one of my favorite Zeloses of all time, and they have made some pretty cool watches. Last but not least, and probably the star of this show, is the MontBlanc. The MontBlanc, the dial on this watch is, I would say, one of the best dials that I have seen on a watch in a long time. I have another watch in my collection. It's a Roger Dubuis that I think has one of the best dials I've ever seen. This is definitely nearing that dial. It is beautiful, and there's a lot of colors too, so you get that sort of darkened indices. The indices that they put on here are in a gunmetal color. You have that blue color chapter ring, so you get blue, you get that gunmetal, you have the blue GMT hand, Everything meets the track really nice. You have these beautiful hands on here. They're sort of dagger hands. They look absolutely gorgeous. Again, I did a video on this. I'll put a link up above. Definitely check that out if you are interested in this watch. It's a beautiful, beautiful watch. So very quickly, 3-watch collection under $3,000. This is somewhere under $3,000. It's around $2,500 or $2,700, somewhere around there. So you have money left over. You could probably buy something like a moon swatch when they become available for a fourth sort of alternate, maybe a good travel watch. I think the moon swatch will be a very good travel watch as a second watch, maybe something that you're not that nervous about losing. I have a moon swatch and I think it's pretty cool, and I think it would fit in with this watch collection in my opinion. But this is a 3-watch collection, so you save a little bit of money on that $3,000 number if you're looking to spend around $3,000. Anyway, very quickly, let's do a lume shot, because some of the lume here is great, some of it is okay, and some of it is just okay, but it is sort of a dress GMT, so forgivable. Very quickly, lume shot. So it's very hard to outshine the Zelos, obviously very, very bright, really well done. The lume on the bezel is very bright. The dial, the indices, the hands, there's lume everywhere on this watch. It's really well done. It's an impressive watch for the price, for that $700, $650, somewhere around there price range. Even if it's $800 now, I think they went up maybe after a little while, but doesn't matter. This is a very impressive watch for that price, and the lume is obviously very good. The GMT, the MontBlanc, not an incredible amount of lume on here, but this is a dress watch. Technically, it's a dress GMT. The fact that there is lume is pretty good. The hands are lumed, and you have those little dots for each one of the indices. Not bad. And then the Victorinox, obviously, lume on all the indices and hands. Even the logo at 12 o'clock is lumed. Really, not bad. Nice little surprise, I think. All in all, a really interesting, off the beaten path sort of collection of 3 watches that I think are very interesting, well-made watches. You have a Swiss-made watch that is automatic. You have a Swiss-made watch that is quartz, and then you have a watch that is probably assembled in China, but made with a Le Jeu Perret movement, so a very sort of high-end movement that's on par with the 2893 or a Sellita SW330 that's in the MontBlanc, but in a case and bracelet form that is a little bit cheaper, so you're saving money that way. It's still high quality and really nicely made, but you're getting a pretty awesome movement in that case. So all in all, just a really fun collection. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I love these 3 watches. I think they really work well together. Could make a really great 3-watch collection for anybody. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. Please also don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Please follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is WatchChrisBlog, all one word. I have some links in the description. Those links are to Amazon. If you click those links and buy anything that helps support the channel, it doesn't cost you anything extra. However, I very much appreciate it. Anyway, thank you for logging on. I'll catch you guys in the next video.